Groamy Show, Groamy Show, ZTO TV's first ever live Groamy Show. See who we got next on the Groamy Show. A documentarian is coming up next. He's gonna tell us about the time that ONU was rocked by Kiss. I wanna rock and roll all night and party every day on the Groamy Show. The Groamy Show is now being taped live in beautiful downtown Kenton at the Varsity Club. We are only here to help.
Nice. There we go. All right, good. Thanks, Trevor. A little something different this time. Like you just said, we're being taped live at the Varsity Club as Vapor Emporium and Splitwig Entertainment presents ZTO Takes Over Live at the Varsity Club in Kenton. And thanks for tuning in, paying attention. Sometimes we say important things, most of the times we don't. This time around, some people aren't aware that KISS actually played Ada, Ohio Northern, 40 years ago tonight. And one of the professors over there, along with a couple students, they got together and they did a documentary on it. So I thought, man, we got to get him in here because KISS fan for life. And I want to introduce him to you. Professor Wilson, which drives him nuts. It's Jimmy. Jimmy's a professor over there. And before we get into talking about KISS, brief history about. Tell us about yourself.
About myself?
Yeah, because you're not originally from here, if I remember right.
No, I'm not. And everybody says I have an accent, but it sounds like everybody up here has an accent. I'm from North Florida, around Tallahassee.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long you been in town, or how long you been teaching?
I've been up here about 7 years,
Right
and
on.
I can't imagine a better place for me. I love this place.
Yes. Yeah. Right on. And Kenton's pretty cool too.
It is.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah. And we got.
Groamy's is awesome.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah. And when Jimmy, I am also the curator to the Lima Local Music Museum. And Jimmy came in, it's been about 2 months ago, and he comes in with this envelope, this packing envelope, and pulls out an unused KISS ticket from 40 years ago. And I'm holding it like it's freaking the Holy Grail and shit, you know? It's like, oh my God, you know? And I'm like, what is this all about? And that's when he told me that they're doing this documentary. So I got him a couple of names, and I know he talked to them. And why'd you start this? Why did you, you just heard about it and thought, really? KISS?
When I moved to Ada and started teaching at ONU about 7 years ago, there are certain things that get passed around a lot around the water cooler. And one of them is, everybody seems to know that KISS played Ada in 1975 at ONU. Mm-hmm. And the usual response, as it was with me, is, come on.
Yeah.
Really?
Really? Really? Yeah, it's one of those really. It's like, really, KISS? Yeah.
But enough people said it, and we decided to dig in a little deeper and talk to people that were actually at the concerts or had their lives impacted by the concert. Mm-hmm. There are plenty of them.
Yeah.
And it's turning out to be amazing. By the way, we're not through yet. We're
Right.
still interviewing. We're
Right.
at sort of a midpoint.
Right. So if anybody out there has any stories, was at the show, pictures. We've been talking and still want to see pictures of KISS. I know you've got pictures of the James Gang. Did you bring those with you?
Yeah.
Right. Because the lineup was KISS headlining, the James Gang, which Joe Walsh's old band. Now Joe Walsh wasn't with him at the time, and Rush.
For $5.
For $5, you know. Now Rush couldn't make it because.
Well, we don't know.
Yeah, they're Canadians, you know. I mean, you can't trust Canadians. I still say we got to protect that northern border. Right. You know, it's like, yeah.
Well, that was another thing.
I'm kidding for any Canadians, by the way. Yeah.
We don't know why Rush canceled. There's a lot of speculation about that. Everybody seems to have their own opinion, but there was enough time for the promoters to get another band in. It was the Flock out of Chicago, sort of a frog band, a prog band, excuse me.
Prog band.
Yeah.
Prog band. Well, they might have been a frog band because they just kind of hopped on down into memory lane because they didn't do anything. I mean, they sure as hell weren't Rush.
Right.
You know, they did have a violin. They had a couple albums on Epic or Columbia or Sony or something like that. But yeah, they were the opening band. You know, now I know you said you got some. There's actually, the James Gang's pictures are in the yearbook. You've got a yearbook from
1975. The ONU yearbook does have pictures from the James Gang.
Right.
They don't have any of the Flock playing,
Right.
which opened. Then James Gang played second, and then Kiss wrapped up. They were the headliner.
Right.
And we don't have any of Kiss.
None of Kiss. Well, and that's just it. I'm betting that it was probably back in the day, they were one of those, no flash photography, none of that stuff. I mean,
I don't know.
well, because I mean, let's face it, they're a merchandising machine. They still are, always have been, always will be. So if you get a picture of Kiss, Gene Simmons wants his cut.
That's true.
So they were probably that way back in the day. I don't know for sure, but we're going to stick with that story.
Well, we did find some pictures. Your friend,
Right.
Steve
Brown, yep,
yeah,
yep.
he did have some pictures. He took some of the Flock and the James Gang. He was able to bring in his little Browning, evidently,
Right,
but
right.
he burned his roll.
He didn't have
Kiss.
it on his cell phone or
No,
nothing?
no.
Yeah, that's right. This is 40 years ago. 40 years ago, which is hell. Maybe people just didn't have cameras back. Yeah, it's not that long ago. But one other thing that makes this show infamous and legendary was the hell were they thinking bringing Kiss in? Because this was the first time anything had been done in that building, wasn't it, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, the Kinghorn Center was built as an athletic center and also for convocation, and they had just finished construction. And this was the first major. They hadn't even played basketball on the court, and they had this rock concert.
Yes, let's book a band that likes to set shit on fire and blow stuff up.
Exactly.
Let's put them in the first.
And that's exactly what happened.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what I've always heard. And that's it. Over the years, I've always heard about the legendary Kiss show. Could never find any proof. Not that I didn't believe anybody, but yeah, like book it with the pyrotechnics. From what I understand, did it char the ceiling?
It did. It scorched the ceiling. We don't know how much damage. That ranges from burn marks to just soot. But the most damage actually was to the floor because everybody was smoking and
Inside the
their
building?
butts on the new basketball court.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just. But yeah, this is back when you could smoke in a building. Yeah. But man, I just find that funny as hell.
Well, we talked to
Yeah.
a security guard, and he said that the crowd was getting so rowdy because Rush didn't show that about halfway into it, they decided to back off and not try to stop people from smoking. And once they backed off, everybody had a great time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a great time.
Because they started smoking.
But the smoking
exactly.
of cigarettes and other
what the hell
things.
were they smoking? Speaking of what the hell were they smoking? Good segue. Thank you.
Yeah.
You spoke to a guy that works security.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's just still cool. You can tell us about the guy that works security that you talked to and his little souvenir that he's still got that you're now in possession of.
Right, yeah. He was a young Ada police officer at the time, and he was working the west side where the buses were and the RV that Kiss rode down in. And at some point during the concert, he went up into the RV. I don't know if he was told to or he took it upon himself. Anyway, he went up into the RV, and on the table he saw an ashtray, and in the ashtray he saw a pipe. He picked up the pipe. It smelled like marijuana, so he confiscated it. And
he's kept it for 40 years.
here's the pipe.
And when he found out about this documentary going on, wow.
Now, who knows? There could have been the crew smoking out of it. It could have been Ace or Peter.
Well, and actually on the bus, they probably did. I don't know. You don't know if they'd have their makeup on.
No idea.
So if he wasn't familiar with the band or what they looked like without their makeup, that we're just going to say it was used by Ace and Peter. And actually, in your research for this, you've talked to the drummer for the James Gang?
Yes.
Yeah, and I didn't ask you how that went. Did he remember the show or anything? Or
He remembered the show vaguely. The James Gang, of course, by this time was waning. What's his name? Joe Walsh had went to the Eagles. Tommy Bolin had moved on, so they had 2 more albums coming out. They were on their Newborn album, which is a great album, by the way.
well,
And this was later in their career, and he remembers 2 things about it. One would being a temporary stage, which makes sense.
Right.
And another one, somewhere out in the audience, through the haze of lights, he said, someone called out the name of his high school, where he graduated from in Cleveland.
Wow.
That's the only two things that he remembered.
Well, then he must have been there.
Yeah.
If his memories are vague,
Yeah.
we're talking the 70s. If his memories are vague, he was probably there.
Ace Frehley remembers it, though.
Yeah, Ace Frehley doesn't remember yesterday. Come on. He's just bullshit.
No, in his autobiography, he mentions
that's right.
ONU.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because...
He said that the members of the band stayed in a dormitory rather than in a hotel, and Ace managed to hook up with a couple of ONU students and spent the night with them. They were manufacturing their own LSD. Yeah, so he spent the night with them. And he says that in his autobiography.
Yeah, good old Ace. Yeah. Excuse me. And you've... what was the Eddie Trunk deal you were telling me about?
Yes, yeah.
Eddie Trunk, who hosts... What's he
That
the host
metal
of?
show.
That metal show.
Yeah.
Eddie Trunk. Okay.
Yeah, this past January, I went to Cincinnati. He was playing a venue down there, sort of a meet and greet in a local bar, MVP's in Cincinnati. And I showed him the ticket, and he took a picture. Like everybody else, he just went gaga over it and took a picture of it and posted it on Facebook, and it's well over 5,000 hits and 500 shares. And it's the same old thing. Everybody sees this, and they just, I remember my first concert, or I saw Kiss, and it just sort of snowballs that.
Yeah.
And I also chased him down in Battle Creek up in Michigan. He was there last month in a bar, and I chased him down again just to give him a progress report. So we're hoping through connections that he has that maybe there's some stirrings in the near history on that front. But we'll see.
Yeah, because the documentary you guys have, I don't want to say finished, but the documentary hadn't been worked on, but it's not finished because you're still getting phone calls. And you want to try and, who knows, get Ace or Peter to be on it. I mean, Stranger Things. I mean, because, getting Gene or Paul, you never know, though. You never know. And we were talking earlier, you've had people from the Findlay area, even as recent as this past week, getting a hold of you.
Yeah.
Oh, the gentleman that went to school worked the lights.
Yes. This past week, the Findlay Courier did a piece in their newspaper, and we received, as usual, a bunch of calls from people that were there. And one of them was a person who was a student at the time who operated the light, one of the spotlights. And he actually had lunch that day with the roadies and Gene Simmons, and he, of course, didn't know who Gene Simmons was at the time. Right. But Gene was very free with some advice, stick with your career, always have that, always plan for your future. So even at that time, even at that young age, Gene Simmons was very practical.
Right. Yeah, well, he was a school teacher before he joined KISS, if I'm not mistaken. But, it still just amazes me that you came up with an unused ticket. Because, like I said, I've been looking for stuff like that forever. And now we need to find someone that's got some audio, some. Now the documentary. What are you guys planning on doing with it?
Yeah, later today we're having a viewing of what we've done so far, and I will say, what we've done so far is really good.
Yeah.
And if we put it on YouTube right now, it'd get a lot of attention.
Right.
But it's just not over. We're just going to continue.
Right.
We'd like to add music to it, but we don't have any, background music, something that would do this justice, At some point, we need to work that out. And
you want electric, or would you want, like, acoustic performances of some music? Because I don't know. We might be able to come up with someone that might want to do some acoustic songs to put in the music bed.
Well, perhaps. I'd like to keep with the theme of the music that was played there, whether it was acoustic or not. As long as it's rock, as long as it doesn't distort the volume. But that's the job of yours.
Because there's some speculation as to whether or not that was the first. I heard something about that's the first performance of Rock and Roll All Night. Were you?
Yeah, that's the legend.
Okay,
that's the legend. It's documented very well. The performance after this, they played Rock and Roll All Night.
Right.
And that's the first documentation of that.
Okay.
But we have at least one member of the audience who wrote in his journal that evening that they played it there, and several people say that they played it there also.
Right.
So could be the first place.
I'm sure they played it there because they would have been on tour for the
Dress to
Kill album, and that's where it was. Wow. It still just amazes me that first off that KISS played Ohio Northern, but Sorry, my producer does that every now and then. He just kind of waves his arms freely, but yeah, well, once you get this documentary done, well,
Yes.
what I'm getting at is I want to put you on the spot here. Do I get a copy of the documentary?
Absolutely. You can have two.
Okay, all right.
We'll
cool.
give you two.
Cool, good, because I definitely want to see this. I mean, it's, and if you, well, let's give a shout out to the kids, even though they couldn't, kids that worked on it with you.
Yes.
I mean, even though they couldn't make it because of whatever reason.
Absolutely. Sarah Bender, whose family was somewhere in her family was a friend of Jim Fox of the James Gang, so that's how he contacted us.
Right on.
He heard about us doing that. Sarah Bender, she's graduating tomorrow. She better graduate tomorrow. Ryan Oberlin and Abigail Green, and those two will be continuing next term.
Cool.
So yeah.
Cool. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully they did a good job,
Though, it's also worth knowing that the reason this started. Our main purpose has not changed at all. It's just to document this. We think that these memories are worth preserving. So we're taking everything that we do, everything that's donated, including the pipe and the ticket, the yearbook, the shirts, all this stuff, any video or audio. We have an audio of the James Gang playing. We actually have a recording of that at the concert. All of that's going to be donated to the ONU library, and the CDs will be given to local libraries.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Yes.
We're not sold.
Right. Right. Yes. Just donating.
Copyrighted, but not given.
Right.
Not sold.
Right. Okay. Well, cool. Well, Jimmy, I appreciate you coming in for this, and thanks everybody for kind of paying attention, see what we do here on the Groamy Show through ZTO TV, and thank you for coming out. And I'm just, anytime you get any more information, I'll eat that shit out. It's just so cool. Thanks for coming out. And yes, sir.
Did I want to? Mind Us Records. Can I tell that link?
Mind Us Music, sure.
Mind Us Music, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Most everybody that we interviewed, including the people in Kenton that went to this concert, say that they got their tickets from Mind Us Music.
And Mind Us Music, and for you kids, they were a record store out in Elida, 118 West Main Street. That's where I started 30 years ago, and that was the place to get your concert tickets. There was no online. And that's when buying concert tickets was cool. You went out, you stood in line for tickets.
That's right.
You didn't be on your damn computer. You don't meet friends that way. I remember I saw Van Halen one year, stood in line, and they're selling T-shirts. I stood in line for Van Halen tickets. But yeah, that was the place to get all your concert tickets, and that's where I started. There's probably we can probably find some more stories from some old Mind Dust alum. Yeah. But once again, thank you, sir, and I appreciate you coming out. And you've been watching the Groamy Show here on ZTO TV, and thanks to Varsity Club for letting us do this, and Splitwig Entertainment, Vapor Lounge for sponsoring today's events. And thanks again. I'm Groamy. I'm only here to help. Why don't you play us out, Trevor?
Saw a werewolf with a Chinese menu in his hand, walking through the streets of Soho in the rain. He was looking for a place called Lee Ho Foods, gonna get a big dish of beef chow mein. Ahoo, werewolves of London. Ahoo. Ahoo, werewolves of London. If you hear them howling round your kitchen door, you better not let them in. Little lady got mutilated just last night. Werewolves of London again. Ahoo, werewolves of London. Ahoo. Ahoo, werewolves of London. He's that hairy-handed gent who ran amok in Kent. Lately he's been been overheard in Mayfair. Better stay away from him. He'll rip your lungs out, Jim. Oh, I'd love to meet his tailor. Ah, ooh, werewolves of London. Ah, ooh. Ah, ooh, werewolves of London. Saw Lon Chaney, he was walking with the Queen, doing the werewolves of London. Saw Lon Chaney Jr., he was walking with the Queen, doing the werewolves of London. I saw a werewolf drinking a Red Bull at the Varsity Club, and his hair was perfect. Ah, ooh, werewolves of Kenton. Ah, ooh. Ah, ooh, werewolves of London.
Thank you, sir.